Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon from Malaysia. Greetings from sunny Malaysia this afternoon. And I'm sure to all our friends out there, whether it's good evening or good morning on your end. In particular, I would like to welcome our audience, first of all, from a country that many may have heard of, called Azerbaijan. So welcome all the Azerbaijan participants. But of course, through the good office of His Excellency Irfan Davudov here as the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary Embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan to Malaysia. So he's here shortly to deliver his welcoming remarks. But to all also our distinguished panelists today, from University Technology Mara. So once again, welcome all panelists. They are here, and I'm sure the session, the sharing of knowledge about halal that we will be looking at today, like we said, really the big picture all the way to the actual implementation challenges along the way, and of course post-COVID, and also looking into the future of uncertainties and also recession, right? And a lot of challenges that probably are in place. And where do we go from here? And that's why this webinar today, we have actually put it as, the way forward. And I'm sure the sharing today hopefully can trigger a lot of questions and perhaps further collaborations on the part of University Technology Mara and also friends of Azerbaijan, and of course friends from other countries. Probably right now with us, we're looking at almost, about 70 total participants out there. That's great. Keep them coming. So without further ado, once again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues. So let me now join me in welcoming His Excellency Irfan Davudov, Ambassador of the Embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan to Malaysia. So, Ambassador, the screen is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Zainab. Good afternoon, dear Malaysian friends, and good morning, our friends who joined us from Baku. I am delighted to have the opportunity to greet you all in this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank to Mara University for organizing this event, and especially to Dr. Zainab Hajimoh-Noor. From the first days of my work here in Malaysia, Dr. Zainab was one of the closest friends of the embassy. With her close support and cooperation, we organized a number of joint events during the year, and for that, I want to thank her again and personally. For the information of our participants from Azerbaijan, it must be said that University Technology Mara is the largest university in Malaysia with 172,000 of students in 28 faculties. It's also one of the few universities in Malaysia, the chancellor of which is His Majesty, the Supreme Ruler King Yang de Pertuan Agong of Malaysia. This is a very important factor here in Malaysia. It's my honor to have such a close cooperation with the University Mara, and I hope that this cooperation will continue for the sake of our friendly nations in future. I would also like to thank the Food Safety Agency of Azerbaijan for supporting our initiative to organize this event. Considering the great experience of the Malaysian side and especially of Mara University in this field, I believe that this event will be a very important contribution to the development of bilateral cooperation in the sphere of food safety in Azerbaijan. Dear participants, it's no secret that now the issue of food security has become a national security issue, an issue of both national and global importance. From the safety of the products consumed by the population depends not only the health of today's generation, but also the health and well-being of future generations. It's not coincidence that this area is increasingly being paid attention by state institutions in all countries, as well as by international organizations. The Food Safety Agency of Azerbaijan, which was established a few years ago by the decree of His Excellency the President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev, has already done great work in the direction of ensuring, coordinating, and regulating the measures implemented in the sphere of food safety, as well as improving the legislation in this field. I'm sure that this webinar will be a very good start for the future cooperation of the respective state organizations of our countries, as well as research and scientific institutions of Malaysia and Azerbaijan. Of course, here I'm not going to waste your time by a long speech. Summarizing my brief remarks here, I wish you effective work and noticeable results of the webinar. Thank you again very much for your attention, and my apologies that in few minutes I will have to leave the webinar because of another meeting, and I wish you success in your work. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for the insightful, welcoming remarks, setting the scene for today's webinar on halal. And also, as mentioned by Ambassador, Excellency Ambassador, that is also on the future of food security and so forth, which we'll be looking at those topics specifically by our 4 panelists today. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I shall now call upon on our first speaker, that is Professor Technologist Dr. Asma Awal from the Faculty of Plantation and Agrotechnology. Of course, on the topic of food security in Malaysia, performance and also new direction. So we have actually asked Professor Asma to set the scene. And of course, I said I will do quick justice to who they are. So very brief introduction. I know everyone is impatient to listen to Professor Asma. So I'm also sure that Professor Asma would like to share her thoughts and her insights on this particular topic. So currently she's the Deputy Director for Research and Innovation at the University of Technology Mara Selangor campus in Puncak Alam, and recently Ambassador visited the hospital in Puncak Alam. Again, Agricultural Biotechnology Research Group, of course I mentioned Prof. Asma from the Faculty of Plantation and Agrotechnology. So of course, she has again her international presentations, international visibility at professional conferences, publishing widely in numerous high impact proceedings and journals worldwide. So her most recent research interest is the formulation of sustainable plant tissue culture media from agricultural waste. So she is, of course, dedicating her passion then of her mission to improving sustainable plant tissue culture technology for future grown plant and of course industries around the world. So with that background, and we shall now welcome Professor Asma as our first speaker. Professor Asma, the screen is yours.
Okay. So is it okay? Thank you, Dr. Z, for such nice, nice introduction. And then His Excellency Irfan Davidov, Ambassador of Azerbaijan, were invited participants from Azerbaijan and also participant from UITM. I think I would like to focus on the topic that quite, I think almost important nowadays on food security. So we would like to focus on the performance and new direction. So basically, before I start, we would like to look into the concept and what happened in Malaysia, and at the same time, definitely we will look into the policy and the decision that has been made to align the food security in Malaysia. Before I start the presentation, once again, Assalamualaikum. Good morning for those in Azerbaijan, and also good evening for our local participant. So basically today we will discuss on the food security as a whole, and then what happened to Malaysia on the Global Food Security Index. And at the same time, we also will look into our perspective on and also action towards food security with the implementation of the National Agro-Food Policy 2.0, meaning that we have previous policy that support the food production and also in terms of the quality of food, especially for our country. So as a whole, I just would like to give the what is the actual direction, why food security is critically important. Definitely, we are talking about the total world population. So it always and even as what we seen, this is the actual issue, the pain point that we try to solve by looking into the increasing of world population. And as for Malaysia, the total population by the year of 2021 is almost 30, near to 33 million. So basically, the ultimate aim is to also to look into the SDG 2, which is focusing on the zero hunger. So in the overall perspective, I think World Bank also have their own plan of action, which their focus also more on the production, meaning that all type of food production and producers. And that at the same time, they try to facilitate in terms of the process or in terms of increased trade. And not only that, we must look into the consumer and also the household in terms of support. Basically, this is the most important part because we have to look into the nutritional and have the benefit to the consumer. And then last part, which is also need to be focused more, is on the sustainable food and the nutrition security, meaning that we have to look into the overall key area reliable for food security so that we can further focus on the food safety in the global perspective. I just would like to share the GFSI. There is 4 issues that always focus and being measured to classify that we can be ranked in the what we call the most stable in terms of food security index, that is on the affordability, the availability, the quality and safety, meaning that we also focus on the food safety. And the last point is on the sustainability and adaptation, meaning that there is different factors that need to be considered in order to make sure that we always rank in the standard of food security and food safety. So just maybe Malaysia ranked number 39. That is not the, definitely we try to improve from year to year to make sure that the produce that being consumed by consumer will always safe. So in order to chart the process and the procedure related to food security, there is 5 different important factors that always need to be looked into. That is on the first thing is the population, meaning that in terms of the population growth, because every one of us definitely need food. And then not only that, we must also consider in terms of whether the food is safe or not. So meaning that whatever we eat, food from farm to table, we have to make sure the quality of food. So there is also activities involved in terms of food safety, as what we have in the process of from the upstream into the downstream. Food safety need to be verified so that it will always safe. So other than that, the issue of malnutrition, meaning that we have to look into the quality of food and whether other than quality, the food accessibility. So we have to we experience COVID-19, so that because of the pandemic era now become endemic, so the accessibility of food, maybe Malaysian experience when we cannot get for example egg, and then there is also issue on poultry. So these are the scenario on the food accessibility. So we have to and then because of the income for maybe for consumer, because of the income, they should also consider whether they can get access to quality food. And the last part is on the because of the climate change. So all these issues will always interrelated, and then we have to make sure at the end of the day, whatever we eat will always safe. And not only that, because of the population keep on increasing year by year, and we have to prepare with all those environmental factor, the climate change issue. So Malaysia really plan in terms of food security policy to support not only for the local consumption, with the hope that we can also export food from our country. So meaning that food security will always in line with the economic growth. So I will try to relate. There is few commodity crop that really give an impact to Malaysia. For example, oil palm, which produce palm oil, and also paddy. So when we focus in terms of food security in Malaysia, there is also the issues related to the most of the food that Malaysia is highly dependent on food import. So we must accept the fact that most of the food that we eat, we always dependent on food import, especially if we look into the temperate fruits. That is one of the example. And at the same time, consumer, they also have their preference, then they're ready to pay for safety, food quality, the freshness of food. This also we must consider in terms of the quality of food. And at the same time, even though we have enough in terms of self-sufficiency level, especially for Malaysia, almost it goes to 70% in terms of for certain commodity, for certain crop. But in the real situation, we must look in terms of our future direction on the self-sufficiency ratio. So I just would like to share the data from Department of Statistics in year 2021. This is the data that tell us almost 50 agricultural commodity was covered, and 26 of them recorded with SSR more than 100%. So yeah, whether we have enough food, this is the outcome. But we must also ready. Some of them is almost imported food. So this is the scenario that we do understand in the overall perspective, but we have the National Agro-Food Policy. So meaning that every 5 years, government will always review the policy to support in terms of SSR for our local product. So overall, I think we agree that in terms of SSR, there is, are we sufficient enough? This is the output. And then to relate the actual scenario on food security in Rancangan Malaysia attend Malaysia plan, what government plan, they focus on the two commodity crop, that is on palm oil and rubber, and there is also component on agriculture. I just would like to relate the scenario that happened, why we need to focus into the some of the commodity crop and on the agriculture, because both give in terms of GDP to the country. So from here, there is a lot of key player involved. So if we focus on the food security, definitely two ministry will involve. Definitely Ministry of Plantation, Industry and Commodities, and also MAFI, which is known as Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industries. So both are key players that support the whole process on food security, so that with the complementary, if we look into the government agenda on food security, we must understand there is a lot of agencies involved. So I just give few example over here. These are all agencies involved on the food production, and why they are so important in terms of economic growth, because the process, the production, the until we manage to get food from the plantation, from smallholders, because they really play their role and give significant effect to the food industry. So meaning that there is few, for example, on the R&D and C done by our research institute, such as for Malaysia, we have MARDI. And then for the production, there is few agencies such as, if I may also give examples such as FELDA. So the beauty part that we understand in terms of operation FELDA, why this is a good model on the food security, because they have structured in terms of smallholder plan, meaning that the process of, because one thing that we must understand in terms of food security is the production and also the demand and supply, meaning that if we manage to reach in terms of the demand, so we have to we get the profit, and then this will give back to the country. So there is few agency involved, not only on the commodity crop. And when we focus on the agriculture per se, meaning that there is few agencies such as the what I listed over here, the few agencies, FGV, FELDA, MADA meaning one of the agency focusing on paddy plantation. And there is one agency which is known as, in Malay term, is Lembaga Pertubuhan Peladang. They focus on the farmers, and they try to facilitate farmers on the cash crop production. So meaning that we have complete supply chain, start from the upstream, go to the midstream, and next definitely to the downstream. So as a whole, this is one of the example reliable for Malaysia, because previously we are the main producer in the world, but now we become second or third because Indonesia, definitely they have enough land. So overall process the upstream, the midstream and the downstream with certifications, because our main concern is on the certification, whether it is halal, whether it's certified or not, the oil produced. People claim that the palm oil is not good, but in reality we know that based from scientific study, there is no what we call cholesterol in palm oil. So as total, the GDP in year 2020, it contribute to the 36 billion ringgit Malaysia. So is a huge contribution, and why this can be definitely why we showcase oil palm and palm oil industry, because this is the most established food industry which mainly give impact on the GDP. So there is also agency involved, which is known as Malaysia Palm Oil Board, and to definitely when we export palm oil, meaning that there is a certain criteria on the roundtable sustainable palm oil, but Malaysia had already established Malaysia sustainable palm oil, meaning that we can certify that the palm oil produced from Malaysia is halal, is almost certified in terms of quality. Why this thing? Yeah, we would like to thank you ITM, because the first program that we offer in one of the program is on plantation management. So this is the proof that whereby the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream really give impact to the country. So maybe because of our biodiversity, because of our climate, this is one of the golden, what we call a tree for Malaysia. So it really gives impact to the food security. And that will be one of the example. Why it's really comply to the global standard, because we really look into the quality standard to make sure that it always sustain. And these are all example, the procedures involved to make sure that it can be always safe to the consumer. Another example is paddy and rice industry. So meaning that we have another granary area as for Malaysian or those in Asia, definitely rice is there. Is one of the carbohydrate for our for definitely for us. So there is agencies involved, and they also play their role with the production. For example, if maybe I would like to share the plantation area is over here. There is a lot more. This is few example, and then for the seed production controlled by this agency. They produce it, give to the farmers, give to the agency, and at the same time, they collect this the rice, and then definitely for local consumption. Because as for Malaysia, we managed to produce 70% until now. So meaning that we still import 30% for other country. But the model that I would like to share over here is the sustainability of in terms of rice production, and definitely they also have few agencies involved, such as one of them is Bernas, try to make sure the production will always controlled by a certain certified quality. So overall, if you look into the food security agenda, definitely we have structured in terms of Malaysia managed to find ways, upgrade the standard so that it become not only sustained, but we must look into what will be another, for example, climate issue. How are we going to resolve? Maybe for the next 5 years, 10 years, by 2050, we can always support in terms of the production of rice in Malaysia. And looking back into the overall plan in terms of food security, into year 2021, government, especially Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, launched the National Agro-Food Policy. So why I should share this? Because when we look into the food security, definitely we feel we worry in terms of the output. But my concern is to make sure that the national agro-food sector will always be sustainable, resilient, and technology driven, meaning that we have to improve in terms of the well-being, the economic growth. So government what they did. Definitely we have to have innovation. So in order to support innovation, there is a few what we call the key policy involved. So we have to look into the highly competitive and innovative agro-food sector. Not only that, we always support in terms of well-being of food producer. That is government agenda, because in order to get good food, we must also take care of our farmers. Food, fertilizer farmers, if we don't take care of them, definitely you will not get good in terms of quality of food. So there is also paradigm shift towards the sustainable food system to adapt climate change. So meaning that the area of biotechnology, especially in terms of agriculture, should always be in line with the national agro-food policy. So they have 5 policy thrusts. Yeah, we agree. We always drive in terms of modernization and smart agriculture. We have to strengthening market and product access, human capital development, because we have, in order to drive the quality of food, we need to have quality research output and also human capital. And we have to sustain the food post-harvest technology, post-harvest handling and processing, meaning that the food system sustainability should also be together so that we can create conducive business ecosystem with definitely stable governance. So with the hope that these are the key area, these are the sub-industry that Malaysia focus, which is we are lucky enough because of our climate, because of our biodiversity. So the major focus in the industry, food industry, our main focus is on the paddy, food, fruits and vegetables, livestock and fisheries. So with all these produce, definitely we are going towards, yeah, we have a few certification in agriculture, start from the production, start and go into the manufacturing so that we can also produce high quality and sustainable food. So there is all few example on the certification. For example, Department of Agriculture also gives certification to farmers that comply to the agricultural practices. So this to support in terms of quality, to maintain in terms of the production, and we have my gap, we have my organic, definitely they both will also comply to the halal standard. So ministry also strive to transform farmers of today into the agripreneurs of tomorrow. So why? Because this is always have simple method. We don't have food, what will happen to us and our next generation? Definitely we cannot sustain. So I think to end up my presentation, we have to give priority in terms of food security, not only safe, but also with high quality, with high in terms of nutritional value, because this can also drive in terms of economic growth and enhancing the well-being of rakyat. So in Malaysia, rakyat meaning that people. So with that, terima kasih from me, myself and you ITM. Maybe I open for suggestion or Q&A. So I give back to Dr. Z. Thank you, Dr. Z.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Asma, for the very enlightening sharing of the very first topic on food security and the way forward. So I think a lot of very important aspects of food security, talking about quality standards, all right, in how is it today. I think the final part when you talk about, yes, on sustainability, on resilient, and of course, technology driven. I think that gist should be the driving force and the way forward. So I think at this point, We already also put in our chat box that there is what we call a pigeonhole, Prof. At the same time, but if there are any questions at this point, maybe one or two, if you want it to be interactive, or we can hold on to your questions, it will be in the pigeonhole afterwards. All right. Okay. All right. So I think we will move right on to our second speaker, which is Dr. Nina Nakuya binti Ahmad Nizar. So her topic today, all right, her topic then as a continuation of the scene setting of food security and other elements of halal and all that would be very much touched here in terms of how the role of laboratories or laboratory analysis in halal supply chain. And I think, Dr. Nina, a bit of introduction. We are glad to have her here. She is currently our postdoctoral researcher at MITRANS, Malaysian Institute of Transport at University of Technology Mara. So she specializes in halal detection in foods by various analytical methods in the fields of molecular biology and chemistry. She loves the idea of the integration of halal and sciences. She has published, of course, more than 10 papers in reputable journals internationally and locally. She's also a co-editor of a book called Preparation and Processing of Religious and Cultural Foods, which I think is a very interesting title. And also another book called Innovation of Food Products in Halal Supply Chain Worldwide. And her hopes is to actually be more, to contribute more in the field of halal science and also halal supply chain in Malaysia and of course the global front. So with that, Dr. Nina, the screen is all yours.
All right, thank you, Dr. Zal. Before I start, I need to check if you can hear me clearly, Doctor?
Yes, very good.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good day, His Excellency, Ambassador of Azerbaijan, our distinguished guests from Baku, and also, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nina Nakia Amaniza, and today I would talk about the role of laboratory analysis in halal supply chain. It's such an honor to be here today, meeting all of you. Okay, so this is an overview of my presentation today. We would look a bit into the introduction of halal market, then second, issues on food industry during COVID-19 pandemic. Then we would go into role of laboratory analysis in halal supply chain. I would also enlighten a bit on common methods in halal verification. Then we will go straight to the conclusion. Okay. So worldwide, there are 1.8 billion Muslims. So that is totally a very huge market for halal that we could tap into. And the global halal industry now is at an astounding 8.8 trillion ringgit, according to Global Islamic Economic Report. And the largest component of the halal economy in Malaysia is the food services sector, with business revenue in the sector estimated at 128.8 billion ringgit in 2021. And the halal exports has climbed from 19% from 30.5 billion in 2020 to 36.3 billion in 2021. So the potential of halal market is increasing by year. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a typical supply chain. We can see it starts from the field, from the farm, up to the kitchen, to our houses, to the restaurants, to the customers. And we will look into how laboratory analysis can help the integrity of halal supply chain during storage, food processing, food manufacturing, distribution, during retail, and also all the in between where you have transportation and logistics. Okay. Okay, this is very interesting because just now Prof. Asma has enlightened us on food security. Halal supply chain starts from farm to fork, but there is also this concept of team to fork. The concept promotes the food production process that fully excludes components and manufacturing methods that do not comply with the halal standards, starting at the gene or seed level. Okay, this concept is introduced by the Islamic Organization for Food Security, Kazakhstan. And from farm to fork also incorporates sustainability. Just like the figure here, for a fair, healthy, environmentally friendly food system. And food security also, the concept of farm to fork also includes the incorporation of food waste. You want to reduce food loss, you want to manage your food waste properly, and so on and so forth. So this concept is what halal supply chain is all about. Okay. Okay. So moving on to the issues in food industry during COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. I'm sure all of us can still remember this figure whereby all the shelves are empty, and you have this is due to the panic buying during the start of the pandemic. So consumer demand for food has increased, and some store shelves have been contemporarily emptied and resulted in excess cases of essential products. However, the food supply chain remains strong over the years, and we still can have a strong food supply throughout the pandemic here in Malaysia. Okay, now let's have a look into the issues in food industry during pandemic. First, you have raw materials disruption. Okay, usually during lockdown, it's very hard for us to go from one place to another. This is also affects the halal ingredients distribution. So there have been disruptions in that raw material supply. Then the pandemic's effects on food production and operations. We look into the food safety and hygiene of the products. We also have to include the worker safety and social distancing, and also we have to ensure sufficient workforce in the production area. This is quite hard because also because of the lockdown, all the workers need to be home, and it's very hard for us to come by to the workplace, especially in food manufacturing sector, and this has decreased the supply of food products. Then also we have the issues on consumer behaviors. This is not quite an issue. It's actually a change of trends of eating habits. Maybe we are looking into a better food products, looking for something that is more nutritious to be consumed rather than an important food product. Okay, the next point is the traceability. I think during pandemic, especially the technological tools for tracking or for traceability is booming, especially blockchain and AI and so on and so forth, because people are looking into more side on the food safety preparations. And also, we also can look into the lab analysis. I will show you later on and explain a bit more on lab analysis, especially in halal. And also, we also have the issues for the built-in documentation. This would later on be explained maybe by another panel on halal certification and so on. Okay. Okay, just to show you some of the COVID-19 cases in food industry. In the USA, you have meat packaging, food processing plants, and farms and production facilities being closed. Then 54,036 workers have been identified as COVID-19 positive. At least 232 workers have lost their lives due to COVID-19. So this has caused the workforce to deteriorate, especially in the food manufacturing sector. In Brazil, meat plant workers also identified as COVID-19 positive. So you have less meat produced there. In England and Wales also, several meat factories suspended their operations. Ghana, they have staff tested positive for the virus at fish processing factory. In Germany, cases were found at meat processing plants, and also in France, more than 100 coronavirus infections at slaughterhouses. So these more or less have affected our food supply chain. And I think I can't find the data from Malaysia, but this is some data that we have internationally. So what actually makes processing plants vulnerable to COVID-19? Because keeping social distance inside the food plants is difficult because workers stand side by side and during long shifts on production lines, and talking without having masks on results in the release of more droplets to the air. So what are the safety measures taken? We have to look into the employees' health issues, personnel and personal hygiene of the workers using personal protective equipment, such as helmets, masks, and gloves, sanitization of the surfaces and working environments, safe handling of preparation and delivery of food. As we all know also, the delivery services have risen during the COVID-19. Then we also have maintenance of social distance in the factories. For example, you have the diagonal arrangement of people working in manufacturing lines. Okay, this is just an evidence on coronavirus. Well, it is very interesting to note that SARS-CoV-2 doesn't go affected to people due to the transmission of food, yeah, because but it's rather than, like we all know, because of the food handling. If you are not clean and you have SARS-CoV-2, then you can transmit the virus to the food, and maybe some other people will get the virus too. So these are some of the research on the different temperatures for survival of the coronavirus. Okay. So I would like to go into the next topic, role of laboratory analysis in halal supply chain. Okay. Also, it is very interesting to note, okay, SARS-CoV-2 doesn't cause like this type of food poisoning illnesses, but different types of microbes, for example, Salmonella, for example, Listeria, monocytogenes. So these are the microbes that will cause us a very severe illness if we consume them. So if you don't have very proper food handling, for example, like this one, it is food poisoning is started from laksa. Laksa is a noodles that we have here in Malaysia. So this is what happens in among students, I think. Yeah, and it is known that some of the patient is positive for Salmonella. So Salmonella causes very bad food poisoning. Okay, let us go to the second sample. So this is some of the food safety issues are. Okay, E. coli, for example, it is found in food such as undercooked ground beef, raw milk vegetables, and cheese. Then Salmonella can be found in raw or partly cooked food. Listeria monocytogenes found in raw milk and cheese. Campylobacter found in poultry and raw milk. So if you have very bad handling or storage, or even during distribution, you don't handle them properly, then all these microbes may come into your food products. Okay, that is the food safety issues. Now, let's have a look at some food defense issues. Okay, red meat sold as lamb in China. Then you have horse meat found in Tesco burgers. This is a case back 10 years back. Okay, in Ireland you have found horse meat in burgers. Then very recently you have in 2020 there's the meat cartel case whereby you have fake halal labeling on non-halal meat. So this cartel has been doing their jobs for more than 30 years and has been distributing the non-halal meat that we thought are halal because of the fake logo across Malaysia. Okay, so this is such a very outrageous, and this is a very good example of food adulteration that is not or can be helped by lab analysis. How do you know that this product contains non-haram material? So if you just look by the naked eye, you can hardly know, okay, they are mixing all these products. But if you do some tests, then you can know, oh, there has been adulteration in this product. So this is where the role of lab analysis comes in. Okay, so where else can contamination happen in halal supply chain? Okay, raw materials, source of feed, animal raw materials, source of feed. For example, ikan keli, they are been eating non-halal feeds, for example, and you can still see the traces of it after you do DNA testing, for example. Then you also have food processing. During food processing, if you have cross-contamination of non-halal ingredients, that is also a type of contamination. Then you also have microbial contamination with improper food handling. Okay, in food preparation, for example, in restaurants, in the kitchens, no separation between halal and haram utensils, and bacteria can transfer from raw to the cooked foods. And also during transportation, temperatures during transport, if it happens to fluctuate, then the food product that you are distributing can be affected, and maybe previously used for transporting non-halal food. May also cause contamination, and there's no segregation whatsoever. Okay. So, from I've explained earlier, food defense is an effort to protect food fraud and food from intentional acts of adulteration, usually for economic gains. Food safety provides protection against unintentional contamination, which occurs due to negligence, improper hygiene, and sanitation practices. So what are the implications? Okay, you have public health risks such as zoonosis or even allergies, and food fraud would happen by contamination of food with meat residue. It is very sensitive. Okay, it is under the Labeling Act under TDA. This is also implied that low compliance to GMP and other related food safety standards. Okay, so solution, you have traceability in the supply chain in place, in the for certification, and also lab testing. Okay. If you see here, these are the examples of the most commonly contaminated products. Minced meat, as I told you just now, can be contaminated very easily. Okay, so the role of halal of laboratory analysis comes here to determine the halal status of raw materials or finished products along the supply chain. Laboratory analysis can be used as a document of evidence in case of any issues arises. For example, the issue of Cadbury last time, kan, you don't know where does this contamination of DNA from pork come. So and laboratory analysis, specifically the DNA analysis can show, okay, this product contains DNA of porcine, so you can have it as a document of evidence. So the result also will support the application of halal certification. So recently in 2020, gelatin, okay, if you use gelatin in your food product in Malaysia, you need to go and send gelatin to Department of Chemistry, Malaysia, to give you enlightenment that this product contains gelatin from halal sources. So this would be needed for you to submit for halal certification process. This is one of the example for the support of application of halal certification. So all of this could increase customers' confidence. Okay. I think it's also interesting to share with you the basic requirements of laboratory operations for halal analysis anywhere. Okay. In Malaysia, common worldwide guidelines and standards for labs. You have ISO 17025, GMP, GLP, GHP. So we have to abide all this as stated in the manual procedure for Malaysia Halal certification. As stated in the clause 9.3, sampling, laboratory analysis shall be carried out at government laboratories which are accredited based on ISO 17025 for the related analytical scope. So currently, the lab under Department of Chemistry Malaysia is the official laboratory for Malaysia Halal certification. Okay, this is an interesting infographic. Okay, halal analysis, we can divide it into halal, soyban, ethics. Okay, halal is the authenticity. Usually it's qualitative, yes or no. For example, okay, you have your product contain porcine, then okay, it's haram. But some products, you know, you have chemical testing, cadmium, for example, or lead or mercury. You have some levels that is acceptable or not acceptable. So this is for safety, okay? And for ethics, also you have a marker compound. Okay. I would like to show you also the common methods used in halal verification. Okay, if you see all these products, right? Gelatin, collagen, blood plasma, emulsifiers, they are all used in our everyday product. Okay, for example, gelatin used in gummies, then emulsifiers in cakes and ice creams. Blood plasma, you want to enhance the meatball texture, the bounciness, you will have to put some blood plasma inside. So also the same case for the pharmaceutical products, for example, capsules. How do you know these products are contaminated? So that's why you need to have a laboratory analysis, okay? Okay, I wouldn't dwell much into all these case studies, but this is just to show some real life cases, different methods that is used to detect non-halal products. For example, this researcher, Ismail, they use HPLC with the incorporation of principal component analysis to test on amino acids that is contained in meat or in gelatin. You can also use PCR. So this researcher, Sultana et al., she tested on confectionery products. Okay, stated here only 2 over 10 marshmallows are porcine positive, but it was labeled as to contain halal and bovine gelatin. So it's labeled as halal, but it's actually contain non-halal products. So if you don't use laboratory analysis, then you wouldn't know this adulteration. So you also have indirect enzyme links in your neurosorbent acids or ELISA using antipeptide for gelatin. Okay, next, we can also have a look at the collagen case study. This researcher used peptide mass spectrometry using protein mass spectrometry. Then this researcher used MALDI-TOF. Also, you can see here, they also use survey, but I wouldn't dwell into that much. Okay, next, emulsifiers. Okay, emulsifiers ni actually a product from oils and fats. Maybe you can get it from palm oil, you can get it from lard, for example. And from lard, you will need to extract the monoacylglycerides, diacylglycerides. How do you know these emulsifiers got contaminated? So again, so this researcher uses gas chromatography mass spectrometry and also IRMS to detect this. Okay, then Nashra used DST. That DST is thermal profile. He can differentiate MAG and DAG or emulsifiers from light, and she can differentiate it from the plant-based emulsifiers. Next, Indrasti, she has used the GC-TOF MS, and she has found one biomarker that can separate or distinguish light from other oil sources. Okay, next we can see blood plasma. They are using they are using DNA-based method, and Rajanari et al. Use ELISA to also test on blood plasma. Okay, the content of product that contains blood plasma. Okay. He is testing the halal fish surimi. Okay, this is just to show you some of the results. When you use real-time PCR, for example, for DNA analysis, these are the graphs that you can analyze later on. And I always about the detection limit. The lower detection limit is better lah, kan, actually. Tapi usually for DNA, if you detect, then it cannot be consumed lah because it's non-halal. Okay. This is also an example of conventional PCR method. Okay, I just can detect all, the different primers used, give different base pairs. Okay. This is also this is the example of ELISA test. You use the microplate reader. There's also test strip, whereby this functions just like our COVID test. You can test whether or not porcine is available. I think it's good for screening test, but before you go on to all the laboratories work, okay? This is the example of protein-based spectrometry. This is the HPLC and all the results. Okay. So in returns, we have like all the test options. You can test porcine using DNA and ELISA. You also have microbiological analysis and other analysis, including heavy metal analysis. These are some of the equipment available here in Mitrans ITM. So in conclusion, during a pandemic, continuing the flow of supply in agriculture and food sector is vital to prevent food crisis and reducing the negative impact on the global economy. Next, reliable scientific analysis to trace, verify, and authenticate purity of halal products are essential to protect consumer from fraud and deception. And added advantage for company and supports the in-house compliance towards import and export regulations of food products. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nina, for the once again the excellent sharing of I think a topic that when you go in depth and to talk about the role of the laboratory analysis in terms of looking at you mentioned about contamination with food defense and then food safety and of course implications and all the solutions. So we're glad to hear also that UITM has the resources at Mitrans, with regards to the lab and so forth, and will be more than we. So you did also mention about the halal analysis, halalan, toyiban, and also the ethics part. So, given that framework, and I think that's really solid for everyone to actually emulate. So I'm sure there will be more questions afterwards. So we're just reserving the questions in the pigeonhole, everyone. So I think we shall move on given that time, just a little bit not on our side, but it's okay, we'll manage. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, so once again, big round of applause to Dr. Nina and also Prof. Asma earlier for sharing for the first two topics. So the next one, we're going to go more practical, more operational in that sense. I think the next topic will be by Associate Professor Dr. Halina Suzana Jaffa from the Faculty of Business and Management of University Technology Maran. So Professor Halina will be talking about the Malaysia international experience. Okay, so Malaysian international experience of cooperation in the halal industry. So a very quick take on Dr. Halina. So of course, Associate Professor Dr. Halina, she her PhD of marketing logistics from university in England, and of course masters in transport from Cardiff. So currently she is the academic member of the National Logistics Task Force, Ministry of Transport, and a certified trainer for the Human Resource Development Corporation, Ministry of Human Resource, and former trainer of the Certified Professional Halal Executive Program by the Department of Islamic Development of Malaysia, JAKIM. So this is one and only agency in Malaysia. I think later when the part on certification and whatnot. So again, Dr. Halina herself has also published in more than 100 journals, proceeding chapters in books, technical reports, professional reports, and of course, policy papers. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Halina on her topic. So Dr. Halina, the screen is pass over to you then.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Zainab. Welcome all the participants from Azerbaijan and also UITM and also from Malaysia and also other countries I heard just now. Okay, so today I'm going to talk on the Malaysia International Expedient Corporation in the halal industry, and I'm representing my Center of Halal Management and Business Innovation under the Faculty of Business and Management, and also I'm the Chairman of Technical Committee 10 Halal Supply Chain at SMIC, and also the Vice President of Chartered Institute of Logistics Transport Malaysia, Selangor Section. Okay, this is basically the contents that I'm going to talk today on the halal industry in Malaysia, experience international cooperation, and so on. Okay, so the halal industry in Malaysia. Let me begin with the stakeholders of halal industry in Malaysia. So if you look this diagram, we can see that the stakeholders of halal industry in Malaysia is not comprises of manufacturing only, but it has the logistics service provider who do all the delivery and distribution. We have the logistic infrastructure that comprise of this infrastructure, terminal, for example, and also we have the government agencies like the certification body. I think Malaysia is the only country who are the certification body is under the Prime Minister office, and MITI, for example, Minister of International Trade and Industry, the standards body, Department of Standards Malaysia, planning, the economic planning unit, and also legal, so Ministry of Domestic Trade and Living Costs. And we also have associations that the halal related associations, and we also have this promoting body that is the GLC, government linked companies, who promote the halal industry. And not forgetting that we have the education, the universities, colleges who have these qualifications, offer qualifications in terms of diploma, a degree, master's, research, and also all these skills training program. Okay, and also of course the last one will be the ICT technology equipment supplier. Okay, this is basically the list of halal standards in Malaysia, and I think I need to skip this because I think Dr. Fadila will explain it in detail. It's just that I want to highlight that currently in Malaysia, we have 16 halal related standards developed under the Department of Standards of Malaysia. And I just want to highlight this one particular standard where I involved since 2016, because this standard that lead to the international platform that lead Malaysia to the international platform in terms of developing standards. So these standards has been established, published in 2010, and it's high time that we do the revisions. And this is the process basically involved development of draft revision on MS 2400 series, national consultations and public comments, review comments, and also finally approval at the minister approval in January 2019. So as a whole, you can see it takes like, I think 3-4 years to develop one standard. And this is the physical feature of the standard. And normally, in order to come up with one standard, we, I think the standards body, Standard Malaysia, will develop or form one working group. We call it working group that normally led by Standards Malaysia. And of course, the members of the group will be the stakeholders of that particular area of standards that we want to develop. For example, for halal supply chain, we have this representative from logistics service providers, promoting agencies, certification body, JAKIM, manufacturers, retailers, academicians, and also terminal operators. And now let us go into the experience in the international cooperation. Okay, in Malaysia, Department of Standards Malaysia is the national standards body, who are also the national accreditation body. They are governed by Standards of Malaysia Act 1996. Okay, so in 2015, these Standards Malaysia joined SMIC in 2015. And since then, I think Malaysia has actively involved in various activities under SMIC. And in fact, Malaysia is one of the 13 SMIC's board of directors. And of course, the role of Standards Malaysia is to foster and promote standardization, accreditation as a means of advancing the national economy, promoting industrial efficiency and development, benefiting the health and safety of public, protecting the consumers, facilitating domestic international trade, and promote international cooperation. So since in 2015, we started with Technical Committee 10, that the Halal Supply Chain here, where Malaysia is the chairman, I'm the chairman, and also the secretariat from Standards Malaysia. And followed then, after that, Malaysia joined as a member, participating member in all these standards, halal food, halal cosmetic, tourism, leather and tanning material, halal management system, CCA, terminology committee, and also in 2019, I think we come up again as to lead, Malaysia to lead on the halal pharmaceutical issues as chairman and also as secretary. So what is SMIC actually? For those who are not familiar with SMIC, SMIC is the Standards Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries. It is an affiliated organization of OIC, and it aims to develop standards, harmonize standards among the member states, and eliminating technical barriers to trade, so that when you have harmonization, standardization, you can eliminate technical barriers to trade and thus developing trade among OIC. So achieving uniformity and metrology, also lab testing and standardization of activities among member states, and ensure education and training and providing technical assistance. So currently, SMIC has 43 member countries out of 57 OIC countries. And under SMIC, we have 18 technical committees who develop various standards, not only halal related standards, but other standards as well. Okay, these are the SMIC member countries, a snapshot of SMIC member countries, where 43 P members, participating member states, and observer 3 member states, that is Russia, Thailand, and also Bosnia. So when they are observer, they can come to the meeting, but they cannot vote. They cannot vote when it comes to voting session. And 18 technical committees. And of course, the strategic priorities of SMIC is to develop high quality standards that can be used worldwide to facilitate trade. And also, secondly, to support members' needs and ensure effective engagement of their stakeholders. And finally, to support the enhancement of quality infrastructure, for example, lab testing and others, and interconnectivity and integration among members. So these are the 2 technical committees where Malaysia lead as chairman and also secretariat. Secretariat is the Standards of Malaysia. So this is the technical committee halal supply chain. And also the other one is TC16, where it is created in 2019 on halal pharmaceutical issues. Okay, at SMIC, when we propose, if you look here, 20 November 2015, Malaysia proposed the formation of TC10, Halal Supply Chain, at the 7th General Assembly. And we, when it was approved in January 2016, then we had our first meeting to develop that standard, 2016, and it also takes about 3 years to get the standard published. So I think this is the fastest development of standards at SMIC, because we adopt the Malaysian standard to SMIC. So basically we have the draft already. So that's why if you look at here, actually in developing standard at SMIC, we have 6 stages, but we skip 3 stages. We skip 3 stages and we just went through 3 stages, because the standards is there. It's just that we want to make sure we still read clause by clause to ensure that these standards address all the 4 schools of thoughts in Islam. So this standard published in 31st October 2020 on transportation, 3 series. OIC SMIC 17, transportation, warehousing, and also retailing. And so currently, we have, in terms of halal supply chain, we have Malaysian standard that was revised and published in January 2019. And we have another one, OIC SMIC 17, 2020, published in October 2020. So not much difference between the two. I would say like about 10% difference between these two. At a recent SMIC TC10 meeting in recent October, there was a new work item proposal on the development of halal-friendly port. So these standards is quite important because it will complement the loophole throughout the supply chain. So all member countries has approved, and inshallah, the next meeting, we will start developing the standards. Okay, Azerbaijan as a SMIC member and international corporation. So when I look at the website of SMIC, I noticed that Azerbaijan is also one of SMIC member. Out of 43 member states, Azerbaijan is one of them. So if you look, so this is the information actually I gained from the websites. So from here you can see, say for example, Afghanistan, they become the 13 participating member in 13 technical committees and none on observer committees. But Azerbaijan, so far, you have joined SMIC, but I think you haven't request to be, any member, whether P member or O member in SMIC. So when you become one of the technical committee members, you'll be called for meeting. Normally, a SMIC will have twice in a year meeting in Istanbul. So that's where we develop standards together among the member countries. So I think maybe, Azerbaijan can start, but of course the members of SMIC are the standard body of that particular country. Okay, of course, there are a lot of benefits if we join and we develop standards together, because we can come up with harmonized standards among the member states, eliminate technical barriers to trade, achieve uniformity in metrology, lab testing, standardization, ensuring education and training, and providing technical assistance. So this adoption of halal standard system practice among member countries will allow standardized management practice of manufacturing and handling of halal goods, and less time needed for inspection because we have a unity, compatible and compliance, and it can enable to faster movement of halal goods across border, and of course it will reduce trade barriers. So finally, significant cost savings can be achieved and you can move the goods faster, and therefore we can come up with cheaper and affordable halal products that could be offered to the consumers. So basically, I would say Malaysia can offer a complete halal ecosystem in terms of production. These are halal food, halal pharmaceutical, cosmetic, halal ingredients, services. In our services, we have this halal logistics, Islamic healthcare, Islamic tourism, banking, and finance. Infrastructure, we have the halal parks, testing labs, traceability systems, standard certification, and we have the government support from HDC, Standards Malaysia, MITI, and we also have various trainings, degree programs, academic qualification programs that can develop, human capital. So we can offer, say for example, Azerbaijan need, any assistance in terms of training or whatever of these facilities, we can work together. Okay, this is basically training programs that, to be more detailed, training programs that normally we conducted is on, for example, certification standards, on what standards of certification that you want to be. So I think Malaysia can provide that particular training. And we can also conduct training to the auditors and also halal executive. As you know, in Malaysia, in order to apply for halal certification, you need to have halal executive. And in Malaysia, for example, we have a certified halal executive program where we use these JAKIM modules standardized throughout the training provider. And also we can also provide awareness training in whatever field of halal standards and also implementations, how to implement, for example, halal supply chain, how industry can implement that particular standards. So of course, the target participants can be the manufacturers, halal executive, individuals, academics, students, logistic companies, port operators, air cargo operators, and also auditors. So in Faculty of Business and Management, we are about to launch in January or February a certified halal executive training program for international participants that is accredited by the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport based in UK, CLT International, and supported by SMIC. So it is, you know that skills training, we have level 1 until level 6. So this is at level 3. Level 3, that's what is called International Certificate in Halal Supply Chain. It is an 8 days training program. So hopefully we can start as we plan. That's going to be like January or February next year. Okay, with that, I would like to thank you so much for listening to this topic. Okay, thank you. I pass back to Prof. Dr. Zainab. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Halina. Once again, for the very excellent, and I think Dr. Halina has shared with us on a very important setup, with the OIC, under the banner of OIC, USMIC, and of course, how Malaysia actually cooperates in the halal industry, and taking us through on how, again, sharing of the Malaysia's halal ecosystem, and very comprehensive. And I think last but not least, there is an offer here as far as the Faculty of Business Management with SMIC, and also with the logistics in the UK on the certified halal executive training program for international participants. So let's think about it, and perhaps there might be some interest. So once again, thank you very much, Dr. Halina. Okay, last but not least, I'm sure, hang on to all your questions. Please post your questions to our pigeonhole, and we'll be glad to have that conversation after our last speaker for today's webinar. So our last speaker today is Associate Professor Dr. Fadilah Abdul Rahman from the Academy of Contemporary Islamic Studies. Dr. Fadilah will be sharing with us the topic on the overview of the halal certification in Malaysia. As mentioned, as shown to you with all the 16 standards, but I think here Dr. Fadilah will be very focused, specific to the halal certification process, systems, etc., etc. So with that, Doctor, without further ado, I'll pass the screen over to you, Dr. Fadilah, please.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Dr. Zainab for that. So inshallah, I'm going to be the last speaker today, Dr. Z, inshallah. All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Our distinguished guest, His Excellency Irfan Davudov, okay, the Ambassador of the Embassy of Republic of Azerbaijan, and then also the other panelists and the distinguished guests from the Food Safety Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan, AFSA, and also all participants from UITM, from Malaysia, and also from abroad. Once again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Now, okay, I'm going to on my slideshow. Now, can you see my slide now clearly, Dr. Z? Can you see?
Yes, very clear. Very clear.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move
Thank
on.
you very much. All right. I'm Associate Professor Dr. Fadila Abdul Rahman. I'm actually one of the lecturers from the Academy of Contemporary Islamic Studies, Asis University Technology Mara, and recently has been appointed as, once again, has been appointed as the head of Halal Supply Chain at the Malaysia Institute of Transport's Mitrans University Technology Mara. So inshallah today I will be sharing with you, because I think within a very short time of about 15 minutes, I won't be able to cover everything. Okay, with regard to this halal certification requirements, halal certification process, halal certification procedures, and so on. Yeah, but inshallah I will try my very best to to give you a very quick, a very brief overview, yeah, of the halal certification in Malaysia, because I think this particular topic is very, very important. Okay, because based on what have been presented by our very first presenter, speaker, yeah, Prof. Asma Awal, and then followed by Dr. Nina Nakia, and then followed by Dr. Harlina just now. So I think this topic will be the ultimate one for all of us to look into, inshallah. Yeah. All right. Okay, now my topic is on the overview of the halal certification in Malaysia. Okay, actually for your information, almost all countries, they have their own halal certification system in place. I'm sure Azerbaijan also has the halal certification process, halal certification procedures, requirements, and so on. But of course, today I will not be able to cover everything. I will not be able to make comparison with other countries, but instead I will only be focusing on the halal certification system in Malaysia. Now, first of all, okay, this will be the content of my presentation today. The first one, we will look very briefly on the concept and also definition of halal certification. And then these will then be followed by the advantages and also importance of having these halal standards and also halal certification. And later I will also be covering on the topic of halal certification authority in Malaysia, and what are the halal certification schemes that we have at the moment in our country in Malaysia. Okay, and then I will also be briefly elaborate to all of you on the halal standard and also the normative references that are being used for the purpose of halal certification. And then we will move on to the halal certification requirements very briefly, and then on the Malaysia halal certificates and logo. And last but not least, I will be talking on the application by foreign companies and also recognition of foreign halal certification bodies, and also on the way forward. All right, now, before we go on to the more detail on the requirements of halal certification in Malaysia, so first of all, I will elaborate very briefly on the concept of halal certification. Yeah, I'm sure everyone here has already understood what does it mean by halal. Okay, and we will only be focusing on halal certification, okay? Because I'm not going to talk anymore on the concept of halal, but we'll only be emphasizing on the halal certification. All right, if we were to look into the basic definition or concept of halal certification, so as you can see here, okay, halal certification is actually a process. Okay? It's a process. So when we talk about process, so it will of course involve certain stages. It will of course involve certain steps. Yeah, and of course these stages and steps will definitely involve certain requirements. Yeah, certain requirements. And like the rest of certification, maybe you're familiar with the certification of GMP, for example, or HACCP certification, GAP certification, yeah, MST certification, and so on. All right, so normally all these certification, they share about the same components. Okay, they're sharing about the same components, okay? because all certification would start with a process. It is a process, and this certification process will normally start with an application. So of course, okay, if we don't apply, so nobody will give us the certification. So same thing goes to this halal certification things, yeah. And then the first one, okay, it will start with an application. Of course, you have to apply. And for your information with regard to the halal certification application in Malaysia, it is not only for the domestic application, but the international applicants may also apply for halal certification. But that one I will discuss on that particular matter later on. Yeah. All right. And then after an application has been made, and then this application will definitely be followed by an audit. And of course, in all certification, there will be audit conducted by the auditors. All right. So in the case of halal certification, audit will be conducted, will be performed by the halal auditors from the halal certification body in Malaysia. Right? And for your information too, when it comes to audit, okay, and when it comes to this application for halal certification, it is not only about products, okay, but in Malaysia, we also certify for services as well. Okay, so when it comes to products, meaning these include like food products, pharmaceutical products, cosmetics products, medical devices, and so on. And in Malaysia, JAKIM and also the rest of the certification authority, okay, they also certify for services, okay, like logistics. Okay, in Malaysia, for logistics, we have 3 types of services. Okay, number 1 is for halal transportation. Number 2 is for halal warehousing, and number 3 is for halal retailing. All right. So after an application has been made, and then this will then be followed by an audit. And eventually, inshallah, if you pass, if you have complied to all the requirements required by the halal certification bodies, then you will be getting an approval, all right, from the competent authority. And ultimately, they will issue for you a halal certificate. Okay, a halal certificate. And for your information too, this halal certificate can only be issued by the halal certification authority in Malaysia. Later on, I will touch on and discuss on who are the halal certification authorities in Malaysia. All right, so that is a very general overview on the concept and also definition of halal certification. So in general, halal certification would involve certain components. Number 1 is application. Number 2, auditing. Number 3, approval. And the last one is issuance of halal certificate by the competent authority in Malaysia. Another point that I would like to highlight here is that, okay, when it comes to halal certification application, in the context of Malaysia, it is still voluntary. Voluntary means it is not mandatory. Okay, it's not compulsory for all companies, whether producers or service providers, okay, to apply for halal certification, and we are still at the level of voluntary. Okay, that is why in Malaysia particularly, okay, you could find products, okay, certain products, okay, displaying, carrying the halal logo, the Malaysia halal logo, but certain other products does not display, okay, does not display the halal logo. Okay, and you can also find premises like restaurants, okay, like kiosks, okay, like hotels, okay, which display the halal logo, but at the same time, there are also other premises which do not display any halal logo. So that is what we meant by voluntary of halal certification, right? And of course, when we talk about halal certification, when we talk about halal standard, of course, there are advantages. Okay, there are certain advantages to be gained, okay, whenever a company has gotten this halal certification. All right, now what are among the advantages of halal standard? What are the advantages of having this halal certification? Right, number one, okay, so when we have this halal certification, this is actually serve as a testimony, okay, as a testimony to support the manufacturer's claim, okay, to support the service provider's claim that their products, that their services have already actually met a very strict halal requirements. Okay, so this is number one, all right, it serves as a testimony. All right, and number two, by having this halal certificate as well, okay, you will be able, okay, companies will be able to enhance, all right, the marketability of their products, all right, the marketability of their products, the marketability of their services, whether it's locally or globally. That is number two. And number three, this is also very important. Okay, when we talk about halal, it is not only about halal, it is not only about the sources of the raw materials must be halal and so on, but halal is actually halalan tayyiban. So when we talk about halalan tayyiban, it also includes in terms of the hygienic aspect of the processing, hygienic aspect of the raw materials. Yeah, it also concerns about the cleanliness, okay, the safety, the nutrition, okay, and this has actually complying to the very stringent requirement by the Sharia law. So those are the advantages, among the advantages of halal standard and also halal certification. All right. Okay. If you were to look at the number of the world Muslim population, I think few of our presenters just now has presented as well on this number of Muslim world population, and actually this big number of world Muslim population is actually providing us with the information, of the minimum market size of the halal business. All right, and with this big global halal market in size, okay, this would indicate a big halal business opportunities as well. So I think this is where we should, especially companies, okay, those who are running businesses, should take this opportunity, okay, to go for these halal business opportunities. Yeah. All right, and then the halal standards and certification. Okay, of course, halal standard and certification are among the primary requisites. Okay, are among the primary requisites in order to develop the trusted halal products and services within a trusted halal supply chain. Now, of course, we have talked about the advantages of the halal certification. All right, and of course, if you did not get this halal certification, so that will be a disadvantage for you. All right, so when we didn't have this halal certification, of course, there will be export barriers, okay, in some countries, and then we may also have this very limited market segment as well. And then we will have a lack of consumers, especially from amongst the Muslim community. Okay, and if we didn't have this halal certification, we didn't have the halal logo being displayed on our products and also at our premises, for example, so there will be lack of consumer confidence. All right, so these are among the disadvantages if we didn't have this halal certification, whether for our products or for our services. All right, and also with regard to the importance of halal standard and certification, of course, this halal standard and certification is very important. Okay, it's not only for the entrepreneurs, it's not only for the importers and also exporters. Okay, it is also very important for the end consumers. All right, because by having this halal standard and also by having this halal certification, so the consumers will be at peace. All right, they will be more confident that all the products, okay, that all the services that they use, all the products that they consume are actually halal and actually tayyiban. All right, so this is very briefly on the importance of halal standard and also certification. Now I'm going to move on to the next topic, that is on the halal certification competent authority. Okay, so in the context of Malaysia, yeah, okay, we have our own halal certification competent authority. Now, who are the halal certification competent authority in Malaysia? All right, okay, we have JAKIM, okay, JAKIM, and also we have the State Islamic Religious Councils. All right, because for your information, when it comes to matters relating to Islam and also relating to the Malay customs, okay, that one falls under the jurisdiction of the states. Okay, so in the context of Malaysia, we have JAKIM and also States Islamic Religious Councils as the halal certification authority. And now, where did they get this authority to certify for halal? All right, so they actually got this power, got this authority from the Trade Description Act of 2011. This is the TDA of 2011 in Malaysia. All right, this has replaced the TDA of 1972. Okay, previously we had this the Trade Description Act of 1972, but in 2011 it has been replaced with the Trade Description Act of 2011. And by virtue of this Trade Description Act of 2011, then we have had this Trade Description Order, okay, the TDO, for certification and marking of halal 2011. Okay, under the regulation number 2 of the TDO 2011 in Malaysia, okay, JAKIM and also the States Islamic Religious Councils have been given the authority to certify for halal. So if there is anybody else who claim that they are one of the certification competent authority in Malaysia, so it is a fake one. It is a false claim, all right? Because in Malaysia, we only have JAKIM and also the States Islamic Religious Councils as the halal certification authority in Malaysia. All right, this is what I've described just now, okay? We do have this Trade Description Act of 2011, and by virtue of this TDA 2011, all right, so the TDO of 2011 has been come in place. All right, so this is the reason. Okay, this is the source. Okay, where and how this JAKIM and also States Religious Islamic Council, okay, got their authority. And the next one I'm going to talk about on the halal certification schemes. And for your information, this is based on the MPPHM of 2020, our manual procedure for halal certification in Malaysia, which has been published in 2020. And for your information, at the moment, okay, we have 9 certification schemes altogether. Unlike previously, before the publication of the MPPHM of 2020, we only had 7 schemes altogether. All right, without the medical devices and also without the scheme for OEM. All right, so previously we only had 7, but now, okay, since 2020, we now have 9 halal certification schemes altogether. All right, and that include number 1 for food product, beverages, and also food supplement. We also have the scheme for food premises and also hotels. And we also have the scheme for consumer goods, number 4 for cosmetics, number 5 for slaughterhouses, and then pharmaceuticals, logistics, medical devices, and also OEM, all right, original equipment manufacturer. Yeah. Okay, so for example, if let's say a company, food producing company or beverages producing company would like to apply for halal certification, all right, so they will have to choose this particular scheme of number 1. All right, because for each of these scheme, okay, they have its own normative references. Okay, but all of these scheme, they have to, of course, comply to certain requirements which are being laid down by the JAKIM, especially under the MPPHM of 2020 and also under the MHMS of 2020. All right, so for food product, you have to apply under the scheme of food product. for food premises like, for example, if you're applying for restaurants or for chain restaurants, maybe, or maybe you're applying for a kiosk, right? Or you are applying for mobile food premises like food trucks, for example. Okay, so that will fall under the scheme of food premises. Okay, because under the scheme of food premises, we have a few more, okay, other subcategories of food premises, okay, which among others I have mentioned just now. And for your information, for hotel, it also falls under the scheme of food premises. Okay, please bear in mind, okay, when we talk about halal certified hotel, it doesn't mean the whole hotel in general. All right, because this is only about the food premises within the hotel. Okay, we are not talking about the hotel as a whole. All right, because if you would like to apply for halal certification, or maybe you would like to apply for a certification for example, Muslim friendly hospitality services, or maybe you would like to apply for Sharia based quality management system, for example, so that's not going to be under these schemes. All right, so that will have to be applied under something else. Okay, not here. Okay, not here. All right, so when we talk about hotel, okay, for hotel, the areas which may be certified halal by the Halal Certification Authority would only include their kitchens and also their restaurants. That's it. All right. And number 3, we also have the scheme for consumer goods. Okay, and we also have cosmetics, slaughterhouses, pharmaceuticals as well. And for logistics, as I've mentioned just now, we have 3 types of logistics here. Right, number 1 is for halal transportation, number 2 is for halal warehouses, and number 3 is for halal retailing. Okay, and then we also have these medical devices and also these OEM. Now, as I've mentioned just now, okay, each and every of the schemes that I've mentioned, okay, earlier, all right, there are certain halal standard and normative references. Okay, so these halal standard and normative references are actually the references which will be referred to, okay, especially by the applicants as well as by the halal auditors. All right, so if let's say we apply for halal certification, okay, from JAKIM, for example, okay, you will have to make sure that all the requirements laid down, okay, under the MPPHM of 2020, okay, all the requirements laid down under the MHMS 2020, okay, all the requirements outlined in the halal standard, for example, has to be complied with. Right, has to be complied with. So this is what we call the halal standard and normative references, which include number 1, MPPHM of 2020, number 2, MHMS, or this is a Malaysia Halal Management System. MPPHM stands for Malaysia Procedure, okay, for Pensijilan Halal Malaysia. That is in Bahasa Melayu. This is the manual procedure for the halal certification of 2020. MHMS stands for Malaysia Halal Management System 2020, and we also have halal standard. All right, halal standard. Number 4 is the legislative requirements. Okay, legislative requirements. Number 5 is all the fatwas related to the products or to the services. And the last one is the circulars. All right, the circulars are regularly issued by the Halal Certification Authority. Now, what is MPPHM of 2020? All right, so MPPHM of 2020 is the manual procedure for Halal Certification Malaysia, which has been published in the year of 2020, right? So this MPPHM actually provides the requirements for halal certification. Okay, the requirements for halal certification. And when we talk about the requirements for halal certification, yeah, it includes number 1 is the general requirements. Okay, general requirements. Number 2, the specific requirements, and it also include the basic conditions and a lot of things. Yeah. So under the NPPHM, other than the requirements, the NPPHM also provides the requirements or the procedures, the process with regard to the fees to be charged, for example, okay, the fees to be charged, and then the procedures, and then the monitoring, and also the inspection, and so on. All right. Whereas MHMS of 2020 is a document. Okay, it's a document that provide the requirements with regard to the halal management system, and this include on how to develop the halal policy of a company. Okay, how to establish the internal halal committee. All right, and how to identify risk, and then to develop the risk management plan, for example, and so on. All right, that is about MHMS 2020. And the third one is the halal standard. All right, the halal standard. Yeah. Okay, halal standard for each and every, for information, yeah, for each and every of these schemes, okay, that I've mentioned just now, okay, they have its own standards. Okay, they have its own standards. All right. For example, for food, product, and beverages, and same thing goes to the food premises and hotels. Okay, we do have this Malaysian standard of 1500 2019. All right, so we have a specific halal standard for specific scheme. All right, whereas for consumer goods, we do have this MS 2200. All right, for cosmetics, we have this MS 2634. Okay, for slaughterhouses, we are still referring to the MS 1500 as well, together with the Malaysian protocol for the halal meat and poultry production. For pharmaceutical, we have this MS 2424. All right, for logistics, we have MS 2400. All right, it's just that for MS 2400, okay, they are divided. Okay, it's divided into 3 types of logistics. Number 1 is MS 2400 Part 1 for halal transportation, MS 2400 Part 2 for halal warehousing, and number 3 is MS 2400 Part 3 for halal retailing. Okay, and for the purpose of certification of medical devices, we do have the Malaysian standard of MS 2636. Right, for OEM, we don't have the a specific standard for OEM. Is just that whenever an OEM would like to apply for halal certification, or if let's say they have got this a deal of business with a brand owner, for example, or say for example, if they are producing food products, for example, so they will have to adhere to all the requirements outlined by the JAKIM and also by all the halal standards relevant to their food production. All right, so those are the halal standard and also normative references. And another one is legislative requirements. Okay, legislative requirements is also one and also part and parcel of the normative references. Okay, which need to be complied with by all the applicants. Okay, for example, for application under the food production, okay, they have to adhere to all the requirements under the Food Act. Okay, 1983, Food Regulation 1985, Food Hygiene Regulation. Okay, for cosmetics, for pharmaceuticals, they have to adhere to all the requirements under, for example, sales of drugs 1952. Okay, so for all application, okay, it is mandatory upon all applicants to adhere and comply to all the legislative requirements. And the next one is the fatwa and also the circulars, which are regularly issued by the Halal Certification Authority. Now, these are the halal certification requirements. Okay, these are the halal certification requirements. So in general, I would say that these are the things. Okay, number 1 is the basic conditions. All right, the basic conditions for halal certification. Say, for example, if a company would like to apply for halal certification, first of all, they have to make sure that their company, that their company has already been registered. Okay, it has to be a registered company. They have to be in full operation for at least 3 months. Yeah, so a lot of things. Okay, a lot of basic conditions that need to be complied with first. Right? If let's say companies fail to comply to any of these basic conditions, meaning they are actually not qualified to apply for halal certification. Right. And number 2 is the non-eligible application. All right, non-eligible application include, for example, if you are producing or manufacturing non-halal products, of course you are not eligible to apply. Okay, or maybe you would like to apply for your natural producers, okay, like like cabbages, okay, like tomatoes, vegetables, fruits, okay, which has not undergone any processing, so that would also not be eligible to apply for halal certification. Okay, and the next one is the general requirements. Okay, general requirements are requirements which are applicable to all schemes. Okay, this would include in terms of sanitation system, in terms of the raw materials, in terms of the workers, in terms of what else, a halal record, halal management system, and so on. There are a lot of general requirements, okay, that must be complied with by all applicants, but of course, I won't have sufficient time to elaborate in details for each of these general requirements, okay? Now, the next one would be the specific requirements. Okay, specific requirements are different, okay, from the general requirements, okay, because general requirements are requirements which are applicable to all scheme. Okay, whereas specific requirements are requirements which are only applicable to specific scheme. All right, say for example, if we are applying for halal certification for cosmetics, for example, or pharmaceutical product, for example. So first of all, you will have to make sure that your product is already registered under the NPRA in Malaysia, the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. Okay, and you should have received the approval letter from the NPRA. But this particular requirements is not applicable to the rest of the scheme. All right, this is what we meant by these specific schemes. Yeah, and the next one is the use of halal certificate and logo. Of course, in terms of the use of halal certificate and logo, of course there are certain terms and also conditions. All right, so you cannot use the halal certificate belongs to other companies. You cannot forge, okay, the halal certificate. Okay, you cannot use false halal logo and so on. All right, and the final one is in terms of the requirements for monitoring and also inspection. Now, this is another requirement which is obligatory, okay, which is mandatory whenever a company has already gotten this halal certificate, for example. So during the period of that halal certification, for example, for 3 years, the validity period, for example, so within that particular 3 years, so the halal inspectors will come to monitor and also to inspect. All right, just to make sure that the companies are still complying to all the halal certification requirements. Now, these are especially for those from Azerbaijan, if you're not familiar with the halal logo from Malaysia, so this is our halal logo. All right, so nowadays, the Halal Certification Authority has already standardized the halal logo. Unlike previously, each state we have their own halal logo, but now everything has been standardized. And this is an example of the halal certificate from Malaysia. And also with regard to the application by foreign companies, of course, all foreign companies, if you're applying for halal certification, so the requirements would be similar for the domestic application. Just to let you know, but that inshallah, yeah, next year, okay, next year there will be a specific MPPHM, the specific manual procedure for halal certification, which is meant solely for the international application. All right, so but at the moment, the JAKIM only has this MPPHM, but this is applicable to domestic as well as for international application. All right, and then the last one is in terms of the recognition of foreign halal certification bodies. Okay, because I've browsed through the foreign halal certification bodies recognized by JAKIM, but so far I didn't see any halal certification bodies recognized by JAKIM from Azerbaijan. Maybe this after this, maybe you would like to make a move, okay, in order to have any of your halal certification bodies in Azerbaijan to be recognized by JAKIM. Yeah. And the way forward, okay, this is going to be my last slide. Okay, of course, once again, like what Dr. Harlina has highlighted just now, I think this is a time where we should collaborate, okay, between Malaysia and also Azerbaijan, okay, and at UITM, we could offer a lot of things in terms of collaboration, okay. We may collaborate in terms of research and publication, okay, and we also may collaborate in terms of training, okay, whether it's about halal awareness training program, halal executive training program, halal auditors training program, halal competency training program, and whatnot. All right, and we also at UITM, for your information, UITM is one of the halal training providers recognized by JAKIM. Yeah. And number three is in terms of consultation, and last but not least is in terms of the audit services, okay, because some of us are certified, actually certified auditors who are recognized by Halal Professional Board, JAKIM as well. So with that, I thank you. If you have any further inquiries, or if you would like to have further correspondence, you may contact me via my email or my mobile number. And with that, I thank you. Ko sa alun tashakur dara. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
There is a trend for wudu-friendly nail color, hair color, or cosmetics. In your opinion, is there any specific lab test for this? And what kind of certification would be deemed suitable?
Okay, I think this one also I need to answer. Okay, maybe other panels can answer after.